Welcome back, friends. Thanks for sticking with us. We are still here in our LCMC Health Wellness Lounge because we're talking about some developmental milestones all children should be hitting. We just talked about speech, and now we're going to talk about language. Guess who's still with me? It's Kyra Coleman from Manning Family Children. She is a speech pathologist. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And I'm curious, like I mentioned, we just talked about speech, and now we're talking about language.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Yeah, so speech is the way that we say words. It's kind of just like using those consonants, the way we produce them, like our P sound, B sound, being able to say them correctly. And then language is going to be, so basically we have two forms of language, expressive language and receptive language. Receptive is what we understand, and so understanding our environment. So we usually develop our receptive language first, and then expressive language is being able to say what we're understanding. So if I see a plant, I understand that it's a plant, so that's my receptive language, and my expressive is saying plant.
I'm telling you see, we are all learning today. And just like with speech milestones, there are some language milestones that we all need to be aware of. Really, it starts around 4 to 6 months. What should parents be on the lookout for?
Yeah, so for language milestones at 4 to 6 months, we're looking for them to recognize their name. We want them to be able to recognize that. We want them to also be able to communicate with us. And so at that age range, it starts with gestures. So you'll see like a 6-month-old raising their arms up to be picked up. That'll be a gesture for them, and that's a way for them to use their language and communicate like, hey, pick me up, I'm ready to get picked up. So, yeah.
Wow. So it's not just about the verbal, it's the nonverbal as well.
Correct.
That is interesting.
Correct, because they understand before they're able to say.
Because again, children can learn the most between that age of 0 and 3 years. You see, I'm learning from you. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to 12 months, we have a 1-year-old now, right?
Yes.
What sorts of milestones should they be looking out for?
Yeah, so at 12 months, that's whenever they start saying their first words. So they're using that language from receptive that they've been building, and now they're able to combine it with the expressive. So it'll be like looking at their mom and saying mama, looking at their cup and saying baba, or juice and things like that. So it's using that language to now, transform into words. And then also receptively, we're looking at them still using those gestures, and it'll be things like waving bye-bye, blowing kisses, waving hello, and also understanding that those gestures and the language and all of those forms of communication all are together.
And remember, y'all, it's so important that we look at things like this, because whether you have kids or not, you now know what to be on the lookout for, whether you are a parent or you're just trying to share this with somebody, because at the end of the day, early detection leads to early intervention so that they can then get to those milestones. I saw we went into 18 months. By 18 months, what should they be doing? Oh my God, almost 2.
Yeah, so 18-month-olds should be saying at least 5 words. So we want them to start building on that vocabulary, saying more words, using more gestures, communicating, and also we want them to start following directions too. So by that 18 months, we want them to be able to say, if you say, go get your cup, you want them to go walk over, get their cup. We want them to be following those directions, and we want them to understand them also.
Now, should we be like pointing to the cup at an early age, be like, this is a cup?
Yes, so it's so important to ingrain that into them, especially if it's common things like a cup or their bottle or their favorite toy. We want to repeat. Repetition is so important.
It's so important. As we get older, when we're talking about like 2 years and 3 years, what are some of those milestones?
Yeah, so 2 and 3-year-olds, they're starting to talk in, more and more words. So we want them to be combining those words in 2 to 3 word sentences, identifying body parts now, where's your nose, where's your eyes, where's your leg. We want to identify those body parts, combine words. We want to start following 2-step directions now. We want to be doing a whole lot, and we want to be also saying about 50 words.
What's a 2-step direction?
So that'll just be like, oh, go get your cup and bring it to me, or bring it to dad. So that will be adding another step to that direction, whether it's a location or
you're building on what they've hopefully already learned.
Correct.
And again, same thing like speech milestones, everybody. It is up to the parent. This teaching starts at home.
Yes.
As we get into older ages, I'm so curious. Now, we're not trying to have them say all the words that they're saying on the spelling bee, right? You know what I'm saying? But it's things that hopefully they will learn because it all builds upon one another.
Right, correct. So we want them to keep learning. We want them to keep using those sounds. We want them to build their communication skills. So that'll be by 4 years old speaking in those sentences. We want them to combine those sentences. We want them to even start giving commands themselves and understanding, what that means means. And so also by 4 years old, we want them to communicate with other communication partners and things like that, other kids their age. You know, we want to watch how they play. We want to watch how they understand, and even being able to answer questions like our WH questions are really big. Who, what, when, where, and why. We want them to, oh yeah, by 4 years old.
WH questions.
Yes.
I like that. And you know, of course, just like with speech milestones, there are some warning signs at different ages that parents need to be on the lookout for to see if they have a delay. You all look at that, and I'm curious, how does reading to your child help when it comes to a language milestone? I feel like it really can help.
Oh yes, reading is so important. My mom always told me reading is fundamental.
It is. RuPaul says it too, okay?
Yes, reading is so important. And one thing about reading is it gives your child a visual, especially with our kids' books. They have so many pictures. You know, if it reads the big dog and you're looking at a picture of a big dog, it really helps to ingrain that in their brains. Like I said, repetition, different models. A visual model, you see the picture. A verbal model, you hear me say it. More visual, you see the words. It's just helping them to understand it. So I love reading. Read as much as you can. I, incorporate reading into my therapy sessions. It's so important.
I love that. A great tip for parents who may need help teaching their children about language development milestones. Thank you once again, Kyra, for being here. And look, everybody, if you feel like your child may not be reaching those milestones, or you have any more questions about this topic, head over to manningchildrens.org to find out more information on how they can help you reach those milestones. And coming up after the break, everybody, we have one more milestone to talk about. I hope you've been hearing us because we're talking about hearing issue warning signs right after the break. Don't move.